יומם ולילה ויקהת שתולה לפלגי מים אשר פריו ייתן בעתו ועליהו לא ייפול וכל אשר יעשה יצליח לכן לרשעים כי אם כמוץ אשר תדפנו רוח על כן לא יקומו רשעים במשפט וחטאים בהדת צדיקים כי יודע אדוני דרך צדיקים ודרך רשעים תאבד.
כל אומר קרא ואמר מה אקרא. כל הבשר חציר וכל חסדו כציץ השדה. יבש חציר נובל ציץ כי רוח Adonai nashva bo. A voice says, cry out. But I ask, what shall I cry? All flesh is like grass. All of its beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers and the flower fades when a wind from God blows upon it. Surely, therefore, people are like grass. The grass withers and the flower fades, but the word of God endures forever. LeDavid mizmor l'Adonai haaretz umloa tevel v'yoshveva ki hu al yamim yesada ve'al naharot yechoneneha mi ya'aleh behar Adonai umi yakum bimkom kadsho neki chapayim uvar levav asher lo nasa lashav nafshi v'lo nishba lemirma Yisavracha me'et Adonai, utzedakam Elohei Yisho. Zed dor shab mevakshe fanecha Yaakov Selah. The earth is the Lord's with all of its fullness. The world is the Lord's with all of its inhabitants. Who may ascend the mountain of the Lord? Who may stand in the holy place? He who has clean hands and a pure heart. He will receive a blessing from the Lord and a just reward from the God of deliverance. I know you told me that Rich wore a mezuzah every day of his life. He was proud of being Jewish. He was bar mitzvahed in an observant home. But I started thinking specifically of what a mezuzah represents. You know, we put a mezuzah right at the threshold of the home, on the doorpost, right on the border between the private home and the public life, on the line between who we are inside our house and who we are on the outside of our house. And the trick is, the goal is to be consistent. That's what the mezuzah represents, to be the same person on the inside of your home and outside in public. Are you consistent? Or are you one way with one group of people and another way with another group of people, one way on Monday and another way on Tuesday, a different way every single day of the week? But it's clear that your husband, your father, was the same guy to everybody. He was genuine and transparent as person as you could find. He was a character. He was funny. He was personable. He was expressive. He was very animated. He was a strong personality. And most importantly, he was a giver. Giving was like breathing to him. It's what he lived for. For Rich, giving began at home, but it didn't end at home. He gave to his parents. He was a wonderful and dedicated caregiver of his mother as she grew older. He would do anything for her, never lived very far from her. He showed loyalty to her. To Ken, his brother, showing great loyalty and support to Ken's business ideas and Ken's business dreams. He stuck by him. And ultimately, he was a giver to all of you. Extending himself was his daily vitamin. It got him going every day. You told me he was the ultimate dedicated Cleveland sports fan. but he was really all of your number one fan. You were his favorite team, beyond any other. Prioritizing the family meant the world to him. His kids were the center of his priorities. And you were all affected by him. You all learned from him. You learned compassion from him. You learned to be generous with your time by observing him. And he was not merely going through the motions. He was sincerely interested in people. He would ask questions. He'd be curious because he wanted to know. He would take a personal interest in you and what you were all doing. He did this for his 4 kids and then for Michael and for Jake when you two became part of the family. He made things fun. He wanted to bond with you. And again, he wanted it to be personal. For Rich, life was personal. He was all about making relationships, not just relationships, but relationships that would matter. He would take the time to get to know each of you personally, your talents, your quirks. It was always personal. He didn't live his life in neutral. He lived it in overdrive. And it was fun to be along for the ride. For Rich, it was about going all out, 100% all the time. He made the extra effort to make things fun and special. In a way, his career is symbolic of this because I know he made orthotics to help those with special circumstances or special needs or some vulnerability. And by definition, that's a very personalized process. You're personalizing every product to serve that client's needs. You customize it to make sure the client has what will help that client. And he drew great meaning from that. He drew great satisfaction from what he did. For each individual, he felt he was making their world a little easier, and he was. And so he had a tireless work effort. He would do whatever it took to improve that client's life. It drove him. You see, he held on to a very important Jewish belief his whole life, and that is that the world is left incomplete, and it's for us to finish it. That God didn't make the world perfect. God left the world unfinished, and so we have to do what we can do to complete the world with our own hands. A day like today reminds us that this world is certainly not perfect, and this world certainly is incomplete, and we do whatever we can to alleviate the hurt of an incomplete world. And anything we do, it's our obligation. He moved through his life that way. Looking back now, it's almost as if he knew that time is precious, that time is not to be taken for granted. Time is limited. He used his time fully. No matter who we are, we should always live our life fully because it's a blessing, and that's how he lived his life. It's interesting. You said the things that annoyed him. You said traffic annoyed him. You said long lines annoyed him. You said people being late annoyed him. But it makes sense because all of those things waste time. All of those things prevent you from getting out there and being productive. It stops us from being generous. It stops us from being kind when we have to wait in line for something. For him, it was about going all out, whether it was being on time or just making the effort to make life productive. And as I said, he was a giver. He wouldn't come to services a lot, but every so often he'd always have so much to say. He had the gift of gab. He would ask a few questions. He'd appear sincerely interested, and he was. It just wasn't an act. He was interested in life, and he was ready to do his part. Nothing deterred him, and nothing delayed him. A get-to-it attitude. I know he was a runner for many years. You told me would wake up in the middle of the night if he felt it was the right time to run. He'd waste no time. A good cook, a good baker. His mind was always working. His mind was always planning. He wasn't just funny, he was dedicated to his humor. To know the right humor means knowing the target audience. So you had to know his target audience. When you'd say he would disguise his voice and try to frighten his mother, when she was a receptionist, he tailored that to her soft spots. When he recognized that a good sense of direction, Claire, was not your strong suit, he just knew how to attack it. He just knew how to attack it. He put up a sign near your home that said, Claire, this is your home. You can stop here because you'd miss it. But that was for the target audience. He prepared his humor. He really served as a role model to all of you. Claire, you said straight out that he taught you to be a better parent, that you had not had such wonderful role models to know what that is, and he changed that. He taught you to be someone who would go all out, to be thoughtful and to plan ahead. And your kids saw how happy he made you. They had never seen you so happy. The families knew each other, but then you started dating, and it just clicked. Blending families requires effort, but Rich gave it effort and more. He made it work and work well. Debbie, you and Rich were proud of the 4 kids, and never for a moment did you doubt his dedication to them or his sincerity as a loving father and a lover of people. And Stephanie and Jeremy and Josh and Aaron, you always felt his love. You always felt his support. You always felt he believed in you. I will tell you, I can teach lessons from the Bible. I can teach kids about fatherhood from the Ten Commandments. Nothing is more important to the confidence of a child than to know that they're loved at home. There's nothing that somebody can come and stand here and do if it's not being in some way supported behind that mezuzah, in the privacy of your home. And you knew that he was your number one fan. Nothing, you can't even measure it now because it's after the fact, but nothing contributes to your feelings of security in your inner heart than those days when you felt he was supportive of you. And he was in your corner, and always was and always would be. You knew his thoughts of you filled him with pride. He lived with a good name, and he died with a good name. I want to call on members of the family. I think, Josh, are you coming up? Josh and Jeremy, currently negotiating the next step of this service.
No, Dad always, I know Dad always like to be here with everyone and some good memories of Dad. He was like sporting events and stuff, and like some games and stuff, and the bottom line is I love Dad so much, and I know it's so hard on I know it's hard on a lot of people, and I got a good support system, and all the good memories like we have of Dad and us kids. He was a trooper and stuff, and I cannot say any words right now and stuff. He's always my number one cheerleader, my basketball games. I was work in preachers and stuff. He's right there and supporting me of stuff. Alright. Oh, and I got something too. Like, there's one more. Okay. I no, 'cause I want to stop. What? Okay. I care so much of Dad, and we all love him so much.
It's an odd thing speaking at the funeral of a man who served as a narrator for your life. In the hours and days since his death, I feel like I've lost much of my words. I suppose it's because he was the person that provided me with so many of them. So many times over the past few days, I've struggled or hurt, or even hoped and thought that I should call Dad. He'd help me see all the way right through. You see, I had a father for 32 years, and I've only not had a father for 4 days. So anything I say today must be understood in the words of somebody only 4 days old. The neurodegenerative disease that my dad had creates a very bizarre and unfair grieving process for his family. I feel like I lost my dad possibly a long time ago, and there was no funeral, no obituary, no headstone, no closure. People didn't deliver us meals or flowers. Sure, several offered to help here and there, but people really don't know how to mourn someone who's still technically alive. I'll never be able to place the moment I lost my dad. In many ways, I lost him a long time ago before he passed away, but that did not stop the tidal wave of raw grief that did follow me when he did. The ultimate finality of it all, the crux of the longest goodbye I've ever had to say, even though I feel like I've really never had a chance to say it. The disease robbed my dad of his present and tried to take away his past. It also stripped us of our future, a future I had always, perhaps naively, just assumed it would be therein. I never thought this day would be here, thus though so soon. For a while I was angry and depressed for a while. Over the past many years, I didn't understand why this was happening to my dad, my family, me. As silly as it may be, it wasn't until I came across a story of a young boy being told that his dog was going to die that I really started to grieve and view things differently. The boy's parents were unsure how to break to their son that their long-lost, lifelong furry companion was going to pass. To their amazement, his response was anything like they had imagined. The boy said, "People are born so that they can learn to live a good life, like loving everybody all the time and being nice. Well, dogs already know how to do that, so they don't have to stay around as long as we do." As I processed that story, I realized that I could see this being similar to my father. Everyone here knows my dad in a different way: a husband, a father, math teacher, orthotic brace salesman, or friend. Me, I know my dad is the one that was always there. My parents divorced when I was in elementary school, and to this day, there are plenty that don't even know that. Why? Because my dad was always there. Always proud, always involved. My dad, for me, he's West Side Story playing on an old record player while playing dinner. He's a loving son who spent much of his days finding ways to torture my grandmother in jest. He's our weekend Jewish mother and creative arts project teacher. He's my #1 sports fan and cheerleader. He's don't tell your mother about our Friday night R-rated scary movies watch parties. He's the weekend torture of my sister's teddy bear, a giver of big hugs and take-home briskets. He is your fodder on answering machines. He's sarcasm, he's sledding in Kane Park and hot chocolate with marshmallows. He's dirty jokes sent via email. He's nightly scripted phone calls with my brother, morning runs, naps while watching golf, and an avid Cleveland sports fan. He's ice skating and potato chips for Aaron. He's Poppy to my boys, who will never have a chance to know him the way that I did. He's a great hugger, and he's not enough days and much blessings. He's family 100% all the time, no matter what. Ironically, it seems fitting that such random wholesome memories ended up dominating the eulogy for someone who died of a neurodegenerative disease. They say that one's deep, personal memories are the last to leave the brain invaded by the disease, in part because it is literally embodied in the skin and bones of an individual. These would likely be the same memories that Dad would have had at the end. Richard Greene was my father. He was grandfather to my boys. He was a loving husband to my mother and stepmother. He was a light in the world of those around him. Like the passing dog, Dad knew the important parts of heart earlier and better than most: mishpacha, family. He surrounded it with love with all of his heart, all the time. As I complete here, I want to share a poem that I came across many years ago and discussed with my father, and he had requested that I read this today. Death is nothing at all. It doesn't count. I've only slipped away into the next room. Everything remains as it was. The old life that we lived so fondly together is untouched, unchanged. Whatever we were to each other, we are still. Call me by the old familiar name. Speak of me in the easy ways which you always used to. Put no sorrow in your tone. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes that we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be ever a household word that was always was. Let it be spoken without effort. Life means all that it ever meant, and is the same as it ever was. There is unbroken continuity. Why should I be out of mind because I'm out of sight? I am but waiting for you for an interval somewhere very near, just around the corner. All is well. Nothing is hurt. Nothing is lost. One brief moment, and all will be as it was before. How we shall laugh at the trouble of parting when we meet again.
Michael and Jake?
So, I, sorry, okay. Whew, okay. I was, Rich's in-house technical support for about 15 years. We got pretty close going over Wi-Fi passwords. When Rich had came into our lives, we were cool, but he just made it so much fun. And every moment found, he'd make sure to find a way for fun and for humor to shine through all those moments. We didn't know it was okay to make fun of Mom's cooking before Rich got in. And we kind of took that and ran with it. But that was kind of how we kind of changed our dynamic. My brother and I, we know the best example of a father growing up, and Rich kind of showed us what a father's supposed to do, how to be there for your kids. And Rich, he's the one that taught me how to tie my tie, and it's a silly thing to think about, but I kind of put that on the same level as a father teaching his son how to shape. It meant a lot to me, and I feel like the way my tie is tied is because of him, and if you don't, it's also his fault too. So I especially in college and after I graduated, I definitely considered him a father figure, and I would talk to him about my future and what I wanted to do. And would go to him for advice, and he was kind of give me the rundown on what to look for my first car, and what a good interest rate is and a bad interest rate. It's tough to measure how much someone has impacted your life, but I like to think that I'm a better person for him being in mine, and I'll always be grateful for that.
Just when Rich came into our lives, we were, I would say, lost a little bit. We really we had our mother, who was always amazing, and we were, as far as a really solid father figure, we were lacking some basic skills and some basic just understandings of things, and we were just kind of rolling with the punches, I guess you would say. And then Rich came into our lives, and he was just such an amazing person. He taught us so much, and we learned so much, and we will never ever forget all the life lessons he's taught us. He taught us how to respect our mother better, how to be better children, how to be better just to everyone in the world. He just embodied the betterment of society, I guess you could say. Just seeing how he treated my brother and I as if we were his own, and the love he showed for our mother was just, you can't replicate it. It was just love. It was pure love. It was amazing. He was a really great man. I really don't have a lot of words to really describe it, but we truly loved him. He truly made it seem like he loved us too, and he was the best thing to come into our lives when he did, and he really helped my brother and I a lot. At the time, it might have been when they got married. My brother wasn't really too fond of another man in my mom's life. He just wanted our mom for himself, and I was just happy for my mom. It was a very interesting time, but in hindsight, he was the best thing that ever came into my mom's life, and he's taught us so much, and we're forever going to be grateful for that, and I'm going to definitely miss him the rest of my life. He was a great guy.
Let's rise, everyone, for the memorial prayer.
Malay rachamim, shochayna bamramim, hametzemeno chanechonam, tachat kanefei ashchina, b'mahalot kedoshim odhorim, kezvol gargaraki yamazgerim, et nishmat יצחק בן עובדיה שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן תהי מנוחתו הנבא לרחמים, אסתרייגו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, ותצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו, אדוני נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר
Amen. May we remember all of the worthy and the righteous deeds that he performed while in the land of the living. May his soul be bound up in the bonds of eternal life. May he rest in peace. And we all say Amen. Let's be seated, everyone. We want to offer our condolences to Claire, to Stephanie, Jeremy, Joshua, Aaron, Michael, Jake, Brandon, Christina, our grandchildren Haley and Ethan, Noah, Jackson, and Ryder. The family will be receiving friends at the residence for the Shiva visitation. The residence is in Lyndhurst. The address is on Bluebell Drive, 5380. Again, 5380 Bluebell Drive in Lyndhurst, beginning today, following the burial portion of the service, beginning today after the burial, and continuing today until 8 p.m. Tomorrow and Tuesday, visitation at that address in Lyndhurst, tomorrow and Tuesday, 1 to 4 p.m. and 6 to 8 p.m. And as I said, the Shiva begins today after the burial and continues through 8 p.m. tonight. Please remain in your seats for a moment as we arrange the processional, which will take us to the burial spot to complete the ritual of the service. Pallbearers, however, should now come forward.